We're here on the roof of IO Interactive in Copenhagen with Christian, the gameplay director on the new Hitman Absolution game. So, new Hitman game after 5 years, finally. I guess you're excited.
Oh yeah, it's been a long wait for us, long time, and we're as excited as the fans to finally get the chance to actually start talking about what we've been building for so long. It's been quite a journey for us, building an entire new engine to kind of enable us to do all the stuff we've always wanted to do, with even more advanced AI and a much more powerful storytelling element in the game. So yeah, it's pretty big for us, and we are super excited to finally be here at this stage.
47.
What has the new engine allowed you to do that you couldn't do before?
Well, I think there are kind of two main levels you can talk about the engine. Obviously, there's the stuff you see when you play the game as a player, right? There's, it's improved the visuals quite dramatically, and obviously the AI is way more advanced than before, and we can pull off some things we couldn't do before, if you think about how the previous games were. But more importantly, for us internally in the house, is also how all the flows when we do our creative work with the game, how those improved vastly, right? So in the old engine, Glacier 1, we could do fewer iterations on something. Say you have a level you want to improve on, and you can just move the characters around and look at it in real time, pause the game, move them a little bit, trigger some new dialogue, look at the combat and action, all that stuff. We couldn't do that in the old engine. We had to wait for excruciating amounts of minutes to actually see what changes and what they did to the game. So yeah, literally hundreds of iterations instead of a handful, and that has you can see it, you can tell it when you play the game that we're doing that now.
You've been showing a demo containing one level, or part of one level from the new game. And one of the new features that will stand out to longtime fans is this thing you call Instinct. What's that about? Well,
Instinct is a new kind of ability for Hitman. It's both an economy, and tied to that are a lot of different powers. So if you think about it, Hitman has a lot of kind of core gameplay elements like disguises and close combat and whatnot. And basically what Instinct does is it allows Hitman to be a little bit better at these things if he has this Instinct power charged. So, for instance, while wearing a disguise, you usually don't want to get too close to people because they can see through the disguise. But if you apply your instinct power to it, you can actually impersonate your disguise and fool the guys looking at you. So you can use it to actually gain access to some place, but you can also use it reactively to get out of trouble. For instance, if someone just spots you, and you can kind of try to bluff them. And that would go for a lot of elements in the game. And at the same time, it's also, as I said, an economy, so you kind of reward you for playing like a hitman, doing stuff that fits with the fantasy of a hitman, and that will enhance your instinct power. And obviously we can tune this for the different difficulty levels, so that this tool is readily available for the easier difficulties, and you really have to earn it and use it wisely as the game gets tougher.
What was the reason for coming up with this sort of... I mean, it breaks a little with what you've done before, and now you can see people through walls and stuff when you use it. What was the reason for coming up with the system?
Well, we really wanted to play with having the game be less binary, so that the outcomes of what happens are not as either you're spotted or you're not. So we wanted to play with this situation where you're almost spotted, and Instinct will allow you, as you said, you can see people through walls, you can sense them, right? But you can also see the paths they're going to take. So let's say you do a clumsy kill, you get spotted or something, you know a guy's coming for you, and you're kind of hiding in cover, and you can see that, okay, he's going left. This would allow you now to go right, instead of just taking a dumb chance. So what you can say is that Instinct is kind of... it's taking some of this try and error gameplay that was we thought there was way too much of in the earlier games. It's taking it out of the game, allowing you to have an actual choice. Since if you know what you're choosing, that's the real choice, right? Sometimes in the old game you got this feeling that you had a lot of choice, but you didn't necessarily know what would be the consequences of what you chose, and some thing you did in one part of the level could have quite big effects in other parts of the level. And we kind of wanted to bring that a little bit closer to you, and this is just one of the systems that we then kind of invented to help you kind of look at what the AI is thinking a little bit and help you make your choices.
You also had a section where Hitman is wearing a cop uniform, and then goes to eat some donuts to avoid being spotted.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that there's a lot of things in that moment, right? One of is obviously this kind of dark humor element that we really brought into this game as well. It's been part of the franchise for a long time. But it's also this kind of, we call it hiding in plain sight, which is, it's not only for disguises, it's also for crowd gameplay and a lot of other things. But in this case, being in a specific disguise at a specific location allows you to do stuff. In this case, in the demo, you see Hitman, he has kind of the choice between some assault rifles and a donut. And in our demo, he chooses the donut. Because he's wearing a cop disguise, he's allowed to do that, and that will actually make him completely undetectable to everyone in that area. The trade-off is obviously that he can't move. He's just standing there, kind of pretending to eat a donut, looking over his shoulder and trying to make his strategy. So this kind of feeling of hiding in plain sight, being the voyeur, knowing that you know who you are, right? But they don't, and they can still see you. That's we want to play with that aspect a lot.
And as he's walking out of the room that he's in, and he enters a subway station with looks like hundreds of people.
Yeah, I think it's actually thousands of people. That's what we talked about, how the glacier technology is kind of allowing us to do stuff that we couldn't do on the same level before. These are AI-governed crowd characters, and obviously at some point we'll be showing you more. In the demo we pretty much tease it, but obviously this is as close to the franchise, and it's something much like, as you saw in the demo, you saw that disguises have we've made them ready for this generation of gamers, right? It's more analog, it's a different way of playing, it feels more right, I would say, and the same thing goes with the crowd. We really try to turn it into something that really wants to be played. So it's not only a visual or technological feat, it's also actually something it will give you a new experience.
One of the things you sort of expanded on this time is the close combat with some new options and a new system, it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in this story, Hitman will rebuild himself, and part of that we wanted to translate into gameplay. So what you saw in the demo is also that Hitman can kind of find a lot of weapons in the environment, and he's also got a few more tricks when it comes to melee attacks. So again, kind of allowing the player to improvise and react much more on what's happening in the environment. Yeah, that's definitely a big new thing for us. Obviously, in the early parts of the game, this will be super important for him because he will have to, as I said, rebuild himself. And later, it also takes on this flavor of being also a style choice, maybe, or just for the fun of it. You actually find some objects, like as you will see in the film, you'll see that there are kind of, how do you put it? You can express yourself. That usually means killing people in a Hitman game, but you can express yourself by choosing which props or which improvised weapons to use. And we have shown you kind of the tip of the iceberg. There's actually a lot more to these improvised weapons. They can do more, but that's also something we will talk about later.
You're still going with this, you know, if you want to be ultra silent, ultra hidden, you can still go that route and not pick so many fights and stuff?
Definitely. I mean, obviously we allow the player to choose at any given point whether to go silent or go loud, and obviously again the consequences will be that you get a different experience. But at the heart of it, we always want you to be able to try to at least aim for that silent assassin title, and it is possible to also pretty much go through a lot of the checkpoints without actually killing anyone. So you kind of have, from this kind of completely undisturbed world that never knew that Hitman was there, to this complete mayhem carnage if you really want that stuff, right? And obviously this can spark a lot of interesting discussions in what is the right Hitman. Are you, as you said, are you the silent assassin, or are you maybe more like an enforcer type? Do you allow yourself to kill a few people? Do you allow yourself to be brutal or messy when you do it? Or do you want to be utterly unseen, right? And that choice is always present, right? It's up to you at any given point.
I'm thinking some of the competing stealth series have gone through some pretty radical changes in the later games, but you're still trying to retain the core fundamentals that the really hardcore fans will like.
Definitely. Obviously, we talk about the Hitman DNA and this kind of Hitman mindset. Something we meet a lot. Also, we have a lot of people user test, people coming in and playing our game, kind of reflecting on where we are, right? And it was central to us to kind of keep this Hitman legacy in the game. So definitely, I mean, you will find a lot of the stuff that you kind of knew in the Hitman games. And I think you'll find that they have somehow matured, or at least they moved along with the times, right? But definitely, I mean, all the stuff if you looked for, if you were kind of an old school Hitman player, you'll get it, and we will be able to challenge you quite extremely. I think that the change if you could put it like that, is that on the easier difficulty levels, we don't force you as hard as we did in the old games, where you kind of like take it or leave it. What we do is we will have challenge systems, and we will have difficulty levels for those who really want it, where we will be very tough on you, and then it's your choice to kind of take up that challenge.